The cryogenics machine certainly works overtime in the Liberal Party room when they let the member for Cottesloe off the leash. But one of the big differences between, I mean, I can understand what it's like in opposition. I know what it's like in opposition. You dwell on negativity. You look for the negative numbers. You look for the negative spin. You look for the negative spin, and you talk the state down. You talk the state down. Every time I come into this place, member for Vass, members opposite, you just talk the state down. And this side of the House is about positivism. It's about talking the benefits of this state, getting on with the job, rolling our sleeves up and making this state a great state. Now, there's a few home truths in this debate. I've listened mostly patiently to the members opposite. And, you know, the member for Armadale is absolutely right. One of the contrasts is this side came to government with a plan. When you left government, there was no plan. There was no plan. The only plan was drop a project here, drop a project there, in the hope of winning enough votes to try and get you over the line, but the electorate wasn't fooled. So let's have a few home truths. Now, one of the home truths is that the number of times you raise the issue of the economy and this government's performance in this place is correlated with the increasing positive trajectory of the state's finances and the economy. The more positive we are in achieving our outcomes, and it's here in the annual report on the state of the finances, the more positive and the more we're achieving our indicators, the more you try and come in here and tear it down. Now, it's extraordinary thinking that the members opposite, when you were in government, had the only recorded recession in the state's history. The only recorded recession. Gross state product contracted by 2.7% in 2016-17 under the stewardship of Premier Barnett, Deputy Premier Harvey, Treasurer Nahan, coincided with state final demand. 7.2% contraction over the same period, the largest contraction in the history of a series. And what a series! 2013-14 contracted by minus 1.3%. 2014-15 contracted by minus 2.2. 2015-16 contracted by minus 4.7. And 2016-17 contracted by minus 7.1. Shows that you didn't have a plan. And what did you do during that time? What did you do? You put 500% on TAFE fees. No wonder the restaurant member for Cottesloe that you went to can't find a chef, because they all stopped training. They stopped training. That's why 3-4 years ago, when those fees went up, they stopped training, and that's why, Leader of the Opposition who's not here, that's why young people decided to go and get their training elsewhere. Because you put the fees up. You put the fees up when state final demand was contracting, when the indicators were there that household expenditure was in trouble. And you also put up household fees and charges. Pretty quick to have a go at the lock-in that was there in 2017. But let's just have a look for the household fees and charges. They were pretty significant. Household electricity prices rose by an average of 8.4% per annum for 8 years. 8.4%. 8.4%. And a 90% increase over the 2 terms in the government. So don't you talk in here about household charges, because you locked that into the forward estimates in 2017 onwards. So don't come in here pot calling kettle black. You need to have a good look at yourselves. Good look at yourselves. Household water prices, member for Cottesloe. Household water prices, 7% per annum. What a disgrace. And you come in here and talk about our fiscal record. When you did that to the residents of Western Australia, we talked the state up, you talked the state down. And you can't get away from the net debt situation that you left us in 2017. Disgraceful, disgraceful, disgraceful. And I know you didn't look at the Bunbury Hospital. No, you didn't look at the Bunbury Hospital, because we had to do it when we came into office. So don't talk to me about hospitals. Now, previous Liberal government left left office, Western Australia had the third weakest economic outlook of any state in Western Australia. What sort of track record? No wonder you were all looking at your iPhones when we were talking before about the positivity of this side. No wonder you were looking down. No wonder you were looking down. What a disgrace. I'm surprised.
Point of order.
Bunbury, I mean, he's speaking well, he's doing very well, but he needs protection. They're a rabble over there.
Yes, thank you, Leader of the House. Members, if we could keep it down. I'm sure Hansard's having a hell of a time at the moment trying to get anything recorded here.
It's clear, Mr Speaker, that they don't like a sensible and considered contribution to this debate when they come in here with such an appalling motion. It's failed fiscal policy, causing ongoing damage. There's not a single shred of evidence have they presented for a plan that is ongoing. You come back in a few years' time and see if we leave the sort of record that you leave. I think there'll be 3 or 4 Labor governments in this state before things change. So let's have a look at the Labor government. Let's have a look at the Labor government. As I've mentioned, there's been no new jobs over the second term of the previous government. No new jobs. In fact, a loss of 36,000 full-time positions. What a disgrace. How could you hold your head up with that? What a disgrace. And compare that to 56,000 new jobs created under this government. Well, I'm not talking the state down. I'm talking about how we've turned a legacy. There was an appalling legacy that you brought in here, and
Member for Dawesville, thank you.
Member for Dawesville, you know better than this. Just because you've got a bright suit on today doesn't mean to say you have to brighten up. Yeah, clearly. But it was interesting that the member for Cottesloe had a bit of a contradiction in his speech. He had a contradiction. He did have a contradiction. He talked on the one hand, well, he is a bit cryogenic in his approach, but he talked on the one hand about the vacancies that couldn't be filled because we've got skills, and then he talks on the other hand about the pool of people who are looking for jobs. Well, I can tell you again, member for Cottesloe, that's entirely down to your previous government's policy. Your Leader of the Opposition's policy in relation to TAFE and ripping the guts out of training in this state. But I'm very pleased to know, I was just talking to the Minister for Mines and Petroleum before, very pleased to note, he provided me with some figures that suggested that in 2012, at the height of the boom, there was 150,000 people employed in the mining and petroleum industry. And today, 150,000 people employed in that industry. We are back to the boom levels. And that's despite the fact that you ripped the shreds out of TAFE and people are still looking at the skills shortage in terms of that anticipated ramp-up. And we have the Minister for Tourism here. The Minister for Tourism was in the southwest just recently. And I tell you what, the Minister for Tourism talked about the latest tourism figures, and the small businesses that were in that room all commented on the number of overseas visitors, the number of interstate visitors, the success of the drive-by tourism campaign. Tourism is a real success story under this government, and I might add there is plenty more to come with the direct flights, and keep working on those, Minister for Tourism. We want to see India next. I was speaking to quite a large number of the people who came to the Diwali festival last night, and they are keenly looking forward to those flights. Keenly looking forward. They love it, and they're so keen to get into the new kind of tourism product that we can take forward. So that's another example of where this government is going in terms of its positive contribution to the state's future. And then the recent announcements, state cruise shipping, absolutely. Cruise shipping, it's on fire. And then looking at the needs of, particularly in regional Western Australia, those great announcements in terms of school maintenance, hospital maintenance, going directly out to small business, tradies, schools particularly on the back of that great little policy initiative that allows schools to contract locally. direct to market. What a great initiative that's been in terms of supporting small business. In fact, we are the party of small business. It was a Labour government that established a Small Business Development Commission. We're the party of small business. We're the party of small business. Whether it's tourism, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's fabrication, every tradesman.
Thank you.
Party of small business. Every tradesman looking forward to those contracts that are coming out of the school maintenance programme, an initiative of this government. I could go on and on about the great outcomes. Key Start was a great one, a great initiative in July. Fantastic initiative. And what did we hear the Minister for Housing talk about today? Direct consequence of that was 306 new applications from people who would not have been eligible for Key Start under the old provisions. And then 70% of those moving directly into new housing contracts. Now, in an environment where things could be much better on the national front and on the international front, this government is working in a very positive way with an outstanding treasurer, on the one hand managing the state's finances, looking at our expense management, looking at our revenue management, understanding the risks, and on the other delivering positive programmes to take this state forward. We talk positively on this side, but we also act positively. We roll our sleeves up and we get into it. And on your side, I know what happens on your side. You go into a town and you talk the place down. And I bet you if I measured retail expenditure after a visit from the Liberal Party, it'd be down. Yeah, they talk the place down, everybody runs home and puts the money under the bed. When we need to have people out there doing things and having confidence in our state, because it is a great state. It is a great state, and this government will continue to support that state into the future. So housing is a national issue, but we are doing something about that in relation to Key Start, and we're seeing some positive benefits in relation to that. Now, we also have a state that has got probably the biggest capital works expenditure on roads in regional WA. And I'm benefiting from that in my electorate. I'm seeing that with the construction of the Outer Ring Road. Great partnership with the Commonwealth, great partnership with our friends over east, and great partnership because our government had the nous to go and talk sensibly to our federal colleagues, to talk sensibly and to take a clear business proposition with a good due diligence case sitting behind it. What did the former Premier have for due diligence? Not a lot, according to the Langeland report, not a lot. So we took that forward, and time and time again, we are getting good outcomes. Now, the one that's standing out there, the one that we need to see an outcome on, call on the members opposite, is the Collins-class submarines. You need to get behind the whole defence agenda. Support the state. Back the state. Get into it. Support it. Do you support it? Do you support it? Do you support it, Member for Netherlands? Do you support it? Do you support it, Member for Dorsal? Yeah, do you support it, Member for Dorsal? Well then, get onto your federal colleagues and drive hard. Get behind our advertising campaign. We need the jobs. We need to continue to grow the jobs because we are about diversification. We're about manufacturing.
Members.
We're about creating a shipbuilding industry.
Member for Dawesville.
So let's get behind manufacturing. Get behind manufacturing. Talk to your federal colleagues. Talk to them sensibly, calmly. Don't let the member for Cottesloe talk to them. Choose someone who's a bit more contemporary in their ideas and outlook. That would be helpful. But you know, work up your business case. Get on board with Team WA. Stop being negative about the contribution we're making to the state's future. Stop being negative about a treasurer who has turned the state's finances around through a clear plan and solid discipline, who has put discipline back into government, put discipline back into the way that we approve projects, put discipline back into expenditure and looked to maximise the revenue streams in a sensible way that doesn't have a profound impact on the future of Western Australia in a negative way, which is what you want to see. You just want to see negativity, and we are about a positive outlook for the future of Western Australia. That's what the McGowan Labor government stands for, and it doesn't matter whether it's in mines or petroleum, it doesn't matter whether it's in manufacturing, it doesn't matter whether it's in tourism, it's across the board. We are looking after the interests of Western Australia. We're about looking after the interests of mums and dads, but not only the mums and dads, but their kids into the future. That's what we're about. We will have a strong commitment to education, strong commitment to health, strong commitment to jobs growth, and a very, very strong commitment to managing the state's finances. Did you? All right. Well, clearly people want to hear more, so I shall want to hear more. Bunbury, I've got to say, Bunbury is optimistic. Yes. I sat at a meeting with tourism operators.
Unfortunately, this business is interrupted. Understanding Order 61. Leader of the